The next question is on Swarna Akarshana Bhairava. And what we know about is the form, which is either red or blue in complexion, clothed in golden dress, has four hands, holds a golden vessel, gives wealth, prosperity, etc., etc. And then, he is said to have 32 hands also, the shape of a bird or golden complexion, terrible teeth, human form above the hip, things like that. So, is this allegory, is this metaphor, or is there also spiritual significance of these forms? Swarna Akarshana Bhairava. Yeah.
Bhairava. So, the way I look at it, whenever there's a description of a devata, I take it as exactly as it is. It is not even, it is both a spiritual allegory, because the iconography holds information about the devata, the nature of the deity, but also it is real in its own plane. It is not something just, non-existent. No, it has an existence. That form exists in its own plane. So you are trying to worship the deity wants that form, because through that image of the devata, through the iconography of the devata, tremendous amount of information is passed on to the subconscious of the upasaka. In fact, except for the shastras, the dharma was not meant only for scholars, that 10 books you mugged up and 100 tattvas and you write another 100 books on it and you feel very happy about it. No. So what about the people who may not have that amount of shastric knowledge? You have a certain amount of knowledge, the guru gives you the sadhana, but how do you get those tattvas? If you meditate on those iconography of the deity, if your mantra sadhana along with that is working properly, the deity itself will reveal the information. That is the beauty of the iconography. That is the beauty of dhyana on the iconography, because it captures all the information of the deity. In fact, it is a huge subject in itself. And I mean only from the upasaka's perspective. I am not interested in the historical and other perspectives which other people may have. From the upasaka's perspective, every single ayudha that a deity holds, the arrangement of his legs, his eyes or her eyes or what setting, everything holds a clue to the nature of the devata and how you may attain certain degree of closeness to the deity. But it is not to be revealed on day one, because as it happens with all spiritual knowledge, if it comes to the one who is not fit for it, the adhikar tattva is always working. To the unfit, if it comes, he or she will digest it out, will vomit it out and cause further problems both for himself and for the others. Swarna Akarshana is a form that is popular specifically in the Sri Vidya Sampradayas, as many people might be knowing. And he is a deity who's a form of Bhairava who resides in the subterranean worlds. He is not, while we were talking about Bhairava forms who are there, Bhairava fundamental is a deity who is close to the physical plane, brings about transformation. Swarna Akarshana is a form who remains in a subterranean world and governs fantastic amount of wealth, huge amount of wealth. In fact, the stories say that when Lakshmi and Kuber ran out of wealth, I don't remember the exact story, but gist of it was when these deities whom we worship for wealth ran out of wealth, they worshipped Swarna Akarshana and Swarna Akarshana gave them wealth. So he has access to tremendous amount of wealth. The other feature of Swarna Akarshana is that he is the only form of Bhairava who it is mentioned as a bit like Vishnu in some senses, which means that the offerings have to be entirely sattvic. He is the form of Bhairava where the all we given are fully sattvic offerings. Swarna Akarshana sadhana, properly done, mantra sadhana, works very well to bring about some degree of financial prosperity, and not just prosperity. So for somebody who contemplates deeper, so a question may come, what is the difference between Lakshmi Upasana and Swarna Akarshana? If I have a wealth issue, whom should I worship? So there are various ways in which you can find this answer from Jyotisha and other places. But more or less, Lakshmi causes not only a wealth in the sense of actual financial wealth, Lakshmi can also bring you certain degree of emotional wealth, certain wealth of influence, and various other ranges of Lakshmi are there. But the thing with Lakshmi Upasana can be that the wealth may or may not be sthita. It may come and it may go very easily. Swarna Akarshana is entirely different. Upasana will take a little bit more time, The mantra has to be completed, and if it is done in the proper way, in the way it is meant to be done, you do the mantra sadhana, you do the sham shoma of it, of the mantra, tarpana, marjan, abhishekam, bhojanam, everything full step by step you do with puja and sankalpa, more or less 80% chance you will see some effect of that mantra. It is a thing that works invariably. This is the beauty of the mantra shastras that we have inherited from the rishis, from the past, etc. Swarna Akarshana gives you a wealth, is going to stay with you. It is not going to go away so easily. That he has the power to do kilana to wealth when he gives wealth to somebody. It may last for generations, and it could be huge amounts, absolutely huge amounts of wealth. Fantastic amounts of wealth, even wealth from sources that you cannot imagine also. So there is Swarna Akarshana, more or less, is a fantastic devata to worship for wealth related things, and specifically those who are into Sri Vidya Upasana initiation. I think they already have the necessary, so let's say the adhikara to worship Swarna Akarshana. There's no problem in that. Only thing is that the worship has to be done consistently, which is perhaps the same for all deities. You have to complete the mantra anushtan and do the homas and things like that, etc. It will work. Swarna Akarshana is one form. So the important thing to remember with Swarna Akarshana is that his upasana has to be sattvic, first of all. And there are certain combinations in horoscopes that may indicate somebody attaining more success with Swarna Akarshana than other forms. But more or less, Swarna Akarshana is his upasana. In some ways, it slightly takes. Swarna Akarshana upasana will take you longer time than Vatuka Bhairava upasana, by the way. Okay, he is not as fast as Vatuka. Vatuka is extremely fast. But if he blesses you, the wealth situation changes in a very fixed manner. He will ensure that the wealth stays if that blessing comes to an individual. It has to go through that process of actually doing first a Swarna Akarshana puja, then you make a yantra of Swarna Akarshana, you do the mantra sadhana properly, whatever is the requisite amount, lakhs of japa, and then you do homa of it and tarpana and things like that. Then the mantra activates. Not only activates, you will see more or less, let's say 70% chance that you will find a sudden strong, influx of wealth or sources of wealth, even areas which you might not have thought about. So unconventional sources of wealth also are very easily governed by Swarna Akarshana. Somebody earning from the internet, somebody earning from stock markets. These are things Swarna Akarshana can very easily govern, provided you know you have entered, your upasana has entered to that depth.